Mr. Morrison, this is the second such an incident in recent times. What's wrong with the system that people are under that much pressure that they're doing this?
Well, you're making some assumptions in the question which I don't think we're in any position to make. The man on this occasion had been receiving community mental health support and had been for some period of time, which is commensurate with the program that he was on. And he had not received any outcome on his protection visa application, so he'd received no advice that he was being sent anywhere and that his claim was still being processed, and as a result there was no indication that he was being removed anywhere or that he hadn't been found to be a refugee, or for that matter that he had. This man sadly died as a result of a very serious set of injuries that were self-inflicted. And I don't think we're in any position, and I frankly don't think anyone else is in any position to draw any conclusions about what is in a person's mind in that situation.
Can I rephrase the question then and ask, are you concerned that there is anything in the system currently that is adding to the pressure on people that might lead them to harm themselves in this way?
Well, the purpose of my discussion with the Department Secretary yesterday was to ensure and to be satisfied that where people are placed in the community are being placed and supported in a way that is relevant to their circumstances. And in this case, at least at a superficial assessment, that appears to be the situation, but I've asked for an assurance on that front as well as others in the community. I mean, this man was in the community. He was on a bridging visa. He was with work rights. He had been seen as recently as last Friday. He was getting mental health support. And this is just a very sad and very terrible incident.
Did he have a work history?
He was not in work at the time.
But had he been before, do you know?
I couldn't comment on that.
As some asylum seeker advocates say that many people who have come to Australia from Sri Lanka have taken a comment of yours last year as an understanding of where their claims will go. On the 11th of October last year you said, so anyone who may have come from Sri Lanka should know that they will go back to Sri Lanka, that they don't believe their claims will be fairly assessed, and that people have seized on that statement as believing that their claims won't be properly considered.
So what are you alleging?
There is a claim here that this man believed that that's the trajectory that his claim was headed.
And what are you basing that claim on?
What people have told 7:30.
So the report I just gave you that the man had been visited last Friday by a caseworker and there was no indication of suicidal ideation. That's the report I've given you today, and I think that addresses your question.
And it's been alleged to us that
right.
This man too was concerned.
You need to make a judgment about whether you believe those allegations based on the facts I've presented to you today.
Do you have any response, though, to the suggestion that you basically ruled out sending anybody back and that this might be adding to the concerns of people in the community?
Claims are assessed in accordance with the process. They're not assessed by me. They're assessed in accordance with the process.
As the Immigration Minister, do you take responsibility for what's happened to this man?
This is a terrible and tragic incident, and none of us can know the mind of someone in this situation. I'm certainly not pretending to, and I don't counsel others to do that either.
Minister, can I just clarify your answer before? Are you saying here today that that there isn't a blanket guarantee, as it were, that all asylum seekers will be sent from Sri Lanka will be sent back to Sri Lanka?
Well, no one has suggested that.
Minister, friends say that this man was suffering depression for a year. Was that the department's understanding, and was
well, he was involved in an ongoing community mental health treatment plan.
So was he flagged as a risk then?
He was receiving treatment over the period of that time, and he had a caseworker, and that caseworker was, I'm advised, visiting with him at least on a fortnightly basis, and had visited with the man as recently as last Friday, the day before this incident occurred.
Did he undergo enhanced screening?
Pardon?
Did he undergo enhanced screening?
At the time of his release from detention, he was fully assessed by mental health nurses at that time.
You've spoken in the past about, in coming to government, inheriting the 30,000 backlog of asylum seeker claims. How are you going, working your way through that backlog?
Well, at present it's a frustrating process because in the Senate, the Senate has blocked the introduction of the government's mandated at the last election preferred process for dealing with the legacy caseload, of which there are some 27,000 people who haven't had their claims looked at yet. And that was true going back as far as August of 2012. And so there had been no processing of those claims by the previous government at the time of the election. We have a clear pathway that we want to pursue in relation to this. For those who hadn't commenced the process, we are waiting the outcome of how the new Senate may regard the process that we're seeking to put in place. For those who aren't part of that process, we've been working through that caseload of the balance of several thousand who are involved in that process. And that is proceeding. But the facts are that what the government is seeking to do is put in place our arrangements for temporary protection visas, which we took to the last election, which we have been consistent on for more than a decade. That process will allow us to get underway with the processing of some 27,000 people, and if they're found to be refugees, they will be given a temporary protection visa with work rights, parity of benefits, and living in the community. Now, I would like to get to that arrangement as soon as we possibly can, and I think the needless frustration and delay that is occurring in the Senate is very unhelpful, but I'm making absolutely no connection between that and the incident involving this young man.